Hey, good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. And today I have a lesson on my top 8 reasons why your guitar may not be holding tune. And I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than a guitar that won't stay in tune, right? It makes your chords and your notes just sound awful. Before we get rocking and rolling, if you have a second, please subscribe to the channel. You know, subscribing to the channel, that really helps us to keep bringing the content, as well as you'll be notified when we have a new lesson coming out. So it's very important to subscribe. Leave a comment below. Let us know how you like this lesson. Let us know what lessons you'd like to see in the future. Put a question below. We do regular Q&A videos. And share the lesson too. If you like it, click the like button, give it a thumbs up, and we so appreciate it. And by the way, I'll save like the mechanical issues of what might mechanically be wrong with the instrument for later in the list. Let's go to some other common ones first. And probably the number one reason I see why a guitar is not holding tune is because it was tuned improperly. And this is what I mean by that. And this is whether you're using a clip-on tuner, whether you're using a chromatic tuner, whether you're using a foot stomp box tuner, no matter what tuner you're using, you have to use the proper protocol for tuning the guitar. And what I mean by that is this: you should always be tuning up to the note. That means you should be going from flat to tune, or from flatter to sharper. You should be tightening the string, tightening it, not loosening it to get it in tune. You should always end on a tighten. Why that's so important is because what that does is, let's say if you're tuning your low E string and it's flat, let's say it's at E flat, and you're tuning it and you're tightening it, tightening it, tightening it, you get right in tune, right on that line, right? Let's say an A440, which would put it right at an E. That takes all the slack out of the string when you end on a tighten, and it also takes all the slack out of the gear, out of the tuning peg, right? If you do this, let's say you're tuning flat, 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 and now it's getting sharper and you're going to E, and let's say you pass E, you go a little past it, and then okay, you loosen it, you flatten it now to bring it back, and then you leave it like that. What that does is there could be slack in that string, and definitely slack in that gear, because you've ended on a loosen. You always want to end on a tighten. Think of it like that. You always want to go from flat, sharper, tightening it. So when you do all your strings, make sure you always tune up to the note. If you go past it, don't stop as soon as you get to it. If you go past it, go back down so you're well flat again, and then tighten, 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 tighten to bring it back up to tune. So again, you're always ending on a tighten. That is huge. Another reason why I see guitars coming out of tune is the guitar strings have not been stretched properly. I see this a lot after, of course, students put on new strings. You put on new strings and they just start playing, or maybe they'll stretch them 1 or 2 times. You have to really, brand new strings, you have to really stretch them out and keep stretching them, retuning, stretch, 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 retune, 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 until they no longer stretch anymore. And this is a process you have to go through with each string every time you change the strings. And what I'd like to do, how I do it, I'll just show you real quick, is I hold down at the first fret with 2 fingers, right, like the low E string, and then I grab around by between the pickups or at the bridge, grab the string, and I'm pulling up on it, pulling it hard, that low E string, right? That's going to cause that string to stretch and go flat once it's new. Then I tune, and then I tune back up, tuning up, remember, to where I'm tightening, 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 in tune. If I go past it, I go way down back below and then tune up again. Then you do it again, stretch, 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 stretch. It's going to go flat, tighten, tighten, tighten. There, go again. And you keep doing that. Usually takes a good 5-6 pulls on each string. I know it's a pain, but you gotta really thoroughly stretch the strings out, and then they hold tune. Basically, each time you do it, when you're pulling on that string and then you go to retune it, you'll see it's less flat, less flat, less flat, less flat, until when you do it, it stays right in tune. Do it again, stays right in tune, and then you're good. The third thing I see a lot with student guitars, why they not hold tune, is an absolute mess on the tuning pegs. And what I mean by that is they don't take the time to properly either lock the string onto the peg or wind it around enough times and keep it nice and neat, right? And then what happens is you get slippage. The string will slip a little bit, slip a little bit, slip a little bit, because it's not securely fastened onto the peg. I see that all the time. You want to make sure on guitars like, Les Pauls or Fender Strats, where you're doing it with windings, right? Where you're not where you lock it to it, like if you had locking tuners, like on a, Paul Reed Smith or on another type guitar with a locking tuner. You want to make sure on these that you go around at least 2 to 4 times. I like doing 3 to 4 times just to make sure that you go around, and even you knot it off or lock it first on, then you start winding, and you keep your winds going down so they're neat, not so they're laying the one on top of another. And again, it's more likely to slip that way. So here's something where neatness does in fact count. And you want to make sure that it's nice and neat and that you're around that peg at least 2 to 4 times. And then with guitars with locking tuners like this, you want to make sure the string goes through the peg, then you turn to lock it, right? And then you don't have to wind it, right, from there. The whole thing with that system is to lock the string to the peg. So no additional windings are needed there, okay? If you do, that's just going to cause issues later. But make sure when you're doing that, put it through, screw it tight to lock it, and then obviously start tune up to the note, but don't start getting it to where it's wrapping around and around and around again. And if you'd like a free video lesson and a killer ebook that'll really help you along in your guitar journey, great lesson on some simple things you could do to really spice up your soloing, as well as the ebook is a great reference book. It's packed with scale diagrams, packed with music theory, soloing strategies, major minor key lessons. It's awesome. Just click that link below. I'll send it to you for free. Free video lesson, free ebook from Next Level Guitar. Another reason why I see guitars go out is students leave their strings on the guitars way too long, and the strings become dead. And besides not sounding that great, they'll sound very lifeless. Dead strings, old strings don't hold tune well. So I get that question a lot. They ask me, well, how long, should I keep my strings on there? I can't tell you. It all depends on how much you play. Also, how much that you sweat. If you're playing in an area where it's, a climate where it's a lot more hotter and humid, obviously, because the sweat from your hands and oils from your hands and fingers get onto the strings and it degrades the strings. That's why it's a good idea to always wipe down the strings when you're done playing, especially if you're sweating a lot or if it's really hot, wipe them down. Depending on your playing style too. Do you go at it really hard and kind of kill the strings? A lot depends too on budget because it adds up. You might want to try to get a little bit more life out of your strings. The main thing is two things. Is one, obviously if you're playing a lot of gigs and playing out a lot, I like to change my strings very often because I don't want to break one while I'm on stage, right? That's really annoying. And the other thing is, if you wait too long and your strings are dead, they don't sound really good, When you put those new fresh strings on, you'll hear what I'm saying. They just sound so bright and so rich and nice as opposed to those old dead strings. Another reason why your guitar might not be holding tune, in fact, is there could be a mechanical issue with your guitar. It's possible that something, may be wrong. Maybe you have excessive play in your tuning pegs, in the gears, right? Or maybe you have a nut that's not seated properly, or maybe one of the strings is binding in the nut. These are all issues that are going to cause the guitar, to not stay in tune. It might be an issue like you might have to replace a worn out gear. You might have to have some work done on the guitar as far as replacing or maybe filing the nut down if it's binding, or maybe putting some lubrication in the nut so the strings aren't going to bind, because then when they bind and then they finally let go and you hear that ping, that's when they come out of tune, right? So, there could be an issue, a mechanical issue with the guitar, but examine all these other possibilities first, because those are much easier fixes. And, you want to go from the simple fixes first to the more complex issues. That's why I kind of waited to start talking about the mechanical issues with the tuning, with the guitar that might lead to the tuning issues. Another problem students have is the intonation on the guitar is not set properly. So the intonation basically is the adjustment that either lengthens the string or shortens it down here at the bridge or at the on the saddles. And what happens is if your guitar is not intonated properly, like the open E string might sound a little bit different than when you play like a fretted note at the 12th fret, which is E, or a harmonic at the 12th fret, E. So the notes at different places on the neck might sound a little bit differently. And that may not be a tuning thing. It may be because the intonation is off. So what you have to do there is you have to set the intonation on your guitar. I have a DVD that's guitar maintenance and setup. I have one for electric guitar, one for acoustic guitar, that goes over all the adjustments on the guitar, proper way to change the strings, proper way to set the intonation, the truss rod, tremolo block, pickup height, everything. I'll put links to those. If you're interested, you could check those out. I'll put those links in the YouTube description box below. Another reason your guitar might not hold tune well, I believe this is number 7 on the list, is climate and temperature changes. Climate change, especially humidity, temperature changes, they really wreak havoc on guitars, especially extremes temperature, going from, super hot into super cold, or vice versa, because, the woods and the metals, they expand, they contract, and they play with the guitar, especially, and you know this, like if you live in an area that has extreme temperature. On your guitar, you bring it from a gig, and then you bring it in your house, and it's really warm. You want to like leave it in the case for a little bit, right? Then open the case up slightly and have the guitar adjust to those extreme temperature conditions. And that's why if you're storing guitars, you really want to make sure you're storing your guitar properly in a room that's temperature and humidity controlled. And in fact, I did a lesson recently on the best way and all the different protocols if you're going to store a guitar for a little while. I'll put a link to that lesson in the YouTube description box below. You can check that out if you want a lot more information on the subject. And the last reason, eighth, I believe, reason why your guitar could be coming out of tune is it could be that it's just not set up well. It's not set up properly. Remember that a guitar has moving parts and it requires maintenance and adjustments every once in a while. And if a lot of these adjustments are way off, like the truss rod or the bridge height, right, or the tremolo block is way off, these could be playing havoc with your guitar and causing them not being able to stay in tune. So it's important that your guitar be set up to the proper specifications, whether you like the manufacturer specifications or your playing preferences, right? But it's important that you keep your guitar in top-notch shape. It's like a car, you got to maintain it. No, I'm not saying that if your adjustments are off a little bit, it's going to throw your guitar way out of tune. If a lot of the adjustments are off together, that effect altogether might be throwing it out. And if they're way out of adjustment, definitely. So a little bit out, not really much of a problem, but if it's way out, it could be a reason. Hope these tuning tips help you along in your guitar journey. Please stay tuned. I got lots more killer content and lessons coming. Remember, subscribe to that channel. Really helps us to keep bringing the content. Also, please leave a comment below. Let us know how you like this video. Also, don't forget, get that free video lesson and ebook. Send it to you for free from Next Level Guitar. Killer video lesson and an awesome reference ebook. Just click on that link below. And if you have any questions, like I say, I do regular Q&A videos, so please send me your question. Email it to me at thenextlevelguitar@yahoo.com, and be sure to put question for David in the subject line. I'm David Taub, co-creator of Next Level Guitar. Keep putting those guitars in your hands every day. Enjoy, have fun with it, and remember, your playing is an evolution. See you in the next lesson.
And be sure to change those old guitar strings. They keep your guitar in tune. And Miles knows it too.